The chamber was vast, larger than any human had ever seen. Its walls shimmered with a soft silver light, and strange symbols floated in the air, shifting slowly as if alive. The room smelled faintly of metal and something older, something that carried the weight of centuries. High above, the ceiling stretched like a sky, dotted with tiny stars that twinkled softly. It was a place of power, a place where decisions that shaped the galaxy were made. Elias walked carefully among the rows of seats, his human frame small compared to the towering aliens around him. He had been chosen to represent humanity, though humans were still seen as newcomers by the Galactic Council. Most delegates ignored him or looked at him with curiosity. They whispered among themselves, speaking languages he could not understand. Yet he felt eyes on him, some filled with doubt, some with interest. At the center of the chamber sat the council leaders. Their forms were different. Some had long limbs, some had multiple eyes, and some seemed almost like light itself. They were ancient beings older than any human history. They spoke rarely, and when they did, their voices carried weight that could fill the hall. Today they were gathered to discuss an important matter: whether humans could remain part of the Galactic Alliance. The floor beneath the council was made of black stone, carved with intricate lines that formed a pattern like a labyrinth. Elias had been warned to stay still and quiet, as the chamber itself had its own rules. Below those floors lay the ancient seal, a relic so old that no living being had seen it awaken. It had been sealed to prevent misuse, locked away by powers no human could imagine. The council had always known it existed, but no one dared approach it. Elias took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. He could hear the quiet hum of the chamber, a sound almost like breathing. It seemed to come from the walls, the ceiling, even the floor itself. The air was heavy, almost charged, and it made his heart beat faster. He had been told humans were emotional, impulsive, and unpredictable. That had caused many to doubt their place in the Alliance. He wanted to show them that humans could be brave and calm, even in the face of ancient power. As the council began their discussions, a delegate spoke in a sharp, echoing voice. Elias did not understand the words, but he felt the meaning. Humans were being questioned, their worth debated. His stomach tightened. Humans had been underestimated for centuries, and now here in this vast chamber, their fate hung in the balance. Elias glanced around at the other humans present. They were all quiet, their faces tense. Some looked afraid, others determined. He felt a strange connection to them, a sense of shared purpose. Humanity had always been small in the galaxy, but it had heart, it had courage. That courage might be the only thing that could awaken what lay beneath the council. A sudden chill ran through the chamber. The lights flickered briefly, though no one else seemed to notice. Elias felt it as a vibration in his chest, a call from deep below. He looked down at the floor, and for a moment he thought he saw the lines in the stone glow faintly. His heart raced. He had not been trained for this. He did not know why he felt the pull so strongly. But something inside him stirred, something primal and human. The council continued their debate, unaware of the change in the chamber. Words flew back and forth, filled with doubt and suspicion. Some members suggested removing humans from the Alliance altogether. Others argued cautiously, saying that humans had potential. Elias tried to focus, to stay still and silent as he had been instructed. But the vibration grew stronger. He could feel it in his bones and his mind. It was as if the chamber itself was alive, waiting for something. Elias's hands trembled slightly. He could hear his own heartbeat echo in his ears. He wanted to speak, to tell the council that humans were not just small, emotional creatures. But the words would not come. Instead, the feeling inside him grew, swelling like a wave. It was fear, yes, but also wonder, awe, and something more he could not name. The ancient seal below was calling, and he was the one it had chosen to answer. The room grew quieter, as if even the air had stopped moving. Aliens paused mid-sentence, sensing a shift they could not explain. The lines on the floor glowed brighter, pulsing with a gentle light. Elias felt heat in his chest, a pressure building. He wanted to run, to escape, but his feet were rooted to the stone. His mind screamed silently. Something was about to happen, something no human had ever seen before. And then a sound escaped him. A human sound, raw and unexpected. A scream born of fear and wonder, echoing in the vast chamber. The council froze. Aliens turned toward him, eyes wide with shock. The light on the floor pulsed stronger, and the air seemed to vibrate with energy. Something ancient and powerful had stirred, awakened by the very human heart that had screamed in awe. Elias felt a shiver run through him. The chamber, the council, the entire hall seemed to hold its breath. Whatever lay beneath the floors had heard him. Whatever ancient power had been sleeping for centuries was no longer silent. The silent chamber was no longer silent. The scream echoed through the chamber, bouncing off the high ceiling and shining walls. Elias felt the sound shake him from the inside. It was not loud like a human yell in a city, it was deep, raw, a sound born of fear, wonder, and something he did not understand. The council stared at him in stunned silence, their many eyes and faces fixed on the small human who had dared to break their ancient calm. The light on the floor pulsed faster now, bright lines tracing the labyrinth below. Elias could feel a vibration under his feet, soft at first, then growing stronger. It was a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, calling to him. His scream had awakened it. Somehow, his human emotion, pure and unfiltered, had reached the depths beneath the council. Delegates whispered among themselves, voices hissing like wind through metal pipes. Some backed away, unsure what was happening. Others stepped closer, curiosity and fear mixed in their expressions. Aliens who had always held humans in low regard now looked at Elias differently. There was power in his scream, a spark of life that they had not expected from such a small species. Elias felt heat running through his body. His heart pounded, but his mind was clearer than ever before. The vibration from the floor was stronger now, almost musical, and it seemed to respond to his own emotions. He realized, without fully understanding how, that the chamber and the seal beneath it were connected to his feelings. Every pulse, every tremor, matched the rhythm of his own human heart. A council elder, taller than any other being in the hall, stepped forward. Its voice was deep and resonant, filled with authority. "What is this, human? What power do you carry?" it asked. Elias could not answer with words. He did not know how. He only felt the seal's energy, flowing like a river of light and warmth through the floor and into the chamber. The light burst upward in a gentle flare, not dangerous but brilliant enough to make the chamber glow. Shadows danced across the walls as the lines of the floor pulsed in time with the rhythm beneath. Elias fell to his knees, exhausted, but his scream had not ended. It had changed. Now it was not just fear, it was awe, curiosity, hope. Every emotion he felt added strength to the light, and he sensed the council had never seen anything like it before. Some delegates tried to move toward the source of the energy. Others stayed frozen, unsure whether to intervene. The floor seemed to respond only to Elias, ignoring the others completely. That realization filled him with both fear and determination. He was small, human, and alone in the middle of beings who had lived for centuries, yet the seal had chosen him. He remembered the stories humans told of the old times, myths passed down from generation to generation. They spoke of beings older than the stars, of powers that could judge and protect life across the galaxy. He had never thought these stories were true, yet here in this chamber he felt their truth. He understood now that humans had a place in the universe, a role that others could not see but the seal recognized. Elias tried to calm himself. He inhaled slowly, feeling the energy beneath him, letting it flow through his body. He was not strong, not fast, and certainly not experienced, but he had something no one else could replicate, pure human emotion, raw and honest. The seal responded to that. It had been silent for centuries, waiting for this very moment, and his scream had called it awake. The council watched, some in fear, some in awe. They had not expected a human to awaken the ancient power. All their debates about humanity's place in the Alliance seemed meaningless now. This tiny creature, this human, had done what none of them could. He had awakened history itself, history older than any council record or treaty. A low hum filled the chamber, vibrating through the walls and into the bones of every being present. Elias felt it not as a threat but as a welcome. The energy was alive, aware, and somehow intelligent. It seemed to communicate with him without words, whispering in a language older than the stars. The council could not hear it. Only Elias could. Calm, steady, strong, the voice seemed to say in his mind. He did not understand the words, yet their meaning was clear. The seal required balance, not chaos. It needed courage, not anger. Elias nodded slightly to himself, focusing all his emotion into calm awe, letting the seal feel his intent. The chamber's light softened, shifting from a harsh flare to a gentle glow. The council muttered among themselves, unsure whether to approach or retreat. Some realized that this moment had changed everything. Humans were no longer weak observers. They were carriers of something ancient, something the galaxy had forgotten. Elias looked around at the faces of the council, their expressions now a mixture of fear, curiosity, and respect. And then the seal responded in a new way. The light lifted from the floor, forming patterns in the air like floating symbols. They shimmered and shifted, forming shapes that told stories of a time before the council, before the stars, before even the oldest records. Elias understood a little of it, enough to know that humans had a role, and that role was important. He looked up at the council and for the first time he felt not fear but strength. His scream had changed the chamber, awakened the seal and shifted the balance of power. He was human, small and fragile by comparison, yet in this moment he carried something greater than any of them, the raw, unfiltered emotion that could awaken the ancient and forgotten. The chamber fell silent again, but it was no longer the same silence as before. It was a silence full of expectation, full of possibility. The human in the center, trembling and exhausted, had shattered the calm, and the ancient seal had responded. The council knew that the universe had changed, and that humanity would never be underestimated again. The light above the floor shifted and twisted, forming shapes that no human or alien had seen before. Elias stared, his eyes wide, heart still racing from the scream. The chamber no longer felt like a room built of stone and metal. It felt alive. The lines on the floor pulsed in a rhythm that seemed almost musical, and from the center rose a figure made entirely of light, shimmering like liquid silver. The council froze. The alien delegates, some taller than trees, some made of crystal, some seeming almost like energy themselves, all stared. They whispered in their languages, trying to understand what was happening. But the human at the center, Elias, understood something they could not. He could feel the seal's presence in his mind, a calm intelligence, deep and ancient. The figure floated above the labyrinth of lines, shifting and spinning slowly. Then it spoke. Its voice was not loud, yet it filled the chamber in a way that vibrated through every wall, every bone, every mind. It spoke in a language Elias had never learned, yet he understood every word. The seal recognized him. It had felt his human heart, pure and unfiltered, and it had chosen him. "You, human," the seal said. "You carry the spark that has long been forgotten. The galaxy has waited. You have awakened the old power. You are the key." Elias swallowed hard. He wanted to speak, to ask questions, but his voice felt small compared to the power surrounding him. Yet he realized he did not need to speak. The seal understood his thoughts, his emotions, his courage and fear combined. The council watched in awe. Many had never seen such a thing. Some of the council members stepped forward cautiously. "What is this power?" one asked, its voice trembling. "How can a human awaken what has slept for eons?" Elias did not answer, for he did not yet fully know. He only felt the connection. The seal responded to human emotion, raw and honest. Other species could try to mimic it, but humans carried it naturally. It was their courage, their hope, their fear and wonder that made them strong in ways others could not understand. The light figure shifted again, spreading like a wave over the floor. Symbols appeared, floating midair. They told a story older than any council record. They showed beings who had walked the galaxy before the council existed. Beings who had protected life and maintained balance. Humans had been part of that order, long forgotten, erased from history by time and fear. Yet the seal remembered. And now it was awake again. Elias felt warmth in his chest. The seal did not judge him. It did not demand obedience. It simply acknowledged the human heart. That recognition made him feel more confident than he had ever felt. He realized that the council's doubts about humans were irrelevant here. The seal saw truth, and the truth was that humans belonged among the stars in ways no one had remembered. The council murmured nervously. Some were angry, some afraid, some fascinated. They had debated humanity's place in the alliance for centuries. Now, a single human had changed everything. Elias felt their eyes on him, filled with awe and disbelief. He felt small, yet incredibly powerful, because he had awakened what even the oldest beings could not. "You have been underestimated," the seal said softly, but everyone in the chamber could hear. "The galaxy has forgotten your strength. It will not forget again." Elias knelt, exhausted by the energy and the emotion. The light of the seal surrounded him like a protective shield, gentle yet immense. He understood that this was not just a display of power, it was a choice. The seal had awakened because it trusted humanity to act, to guide, to protect. And now it waited to see what they would do. The alien delegates looked at one another, some with fear, some with hope. For the first time, they saw humans not as fragile, emotional beings, but as creatures capable of awakening ancient forces. Elias had shown them that courage and heart could matter more than size, speed, or experience. That was a lesson they had not expected. The light began to fade slowly, retreating back to the floor as the seal returned to its resting place. But its presence lingered in the chamber, a quiet reminder of the connection between human emotion and the ancient power beneath. Elias felt the pulse in the floor still, soft now but alive. He had become a part of something greater than himself, a bridge between humanity and a forgotten history. The council members could not speak at first. They simply stared, realizing that the galaxy had changed in ways they could not yet measure. The seal had awakened, yes, but it had chosen a human as its witness, its voice, its representative. That fact alone shifted the balance of perception in the chamber. Humans were no longer weak, no longer merely observers. Elias looked around at the faces, at the towering beings and energy forms that had once dismissed his kind. He felt calm, even proud. He was just a human, yes, but humans carried something the universe had forgotten to respect. Now they would have to. The chamber fell into a new silence, one of respect, wonder, and anticipation. Elias had awakened the ancient seal, and with it, he had awakened the council's awareness. Humanity was no longer invisible. The stars were waiting, and the seal had chosen a human to remind everyone of what had been forgotten. And Elias knew, deep in his heart, that this was only the beginning. After the seal returned to its resting place beneath the floor, the chamber remained quiet. But it was a different quiet now. The council members shifted uneasily in their seats. Aliens who had once doubted humanity now looked at Elias with something they had never shown before: curiosity mixed with respect. The air felt alive, charged with possibilities, and Elias could feel it all in his chest. The seal's light had faded, but its presence lingered. The floor lines glowed faintly, like a heartbeat beneath the stone. Elias could still feel the energy, the rhythm, the pulse of something ancient and intelligent. It was as if the seal was watching him, waiting for him to understand its message. He knelt for a moment, gathering his thoughts, feeling both small and immense at the same time. Humans were fragile in appearance, but their emotions carried power others could not match. A tall, slender alien with silver eyes leaned forward. Its voice was calm but firm. "Human, we have seen what you have done. Tell us, what do you feel? How do you carry such strength?" Elias looked up, his own heart pounding. He wanted to answer, but the words felt too simple for what he experienced. Finally he spoke in his quiet, human voice. I feel that we are part of something bigger," he said. "That even small beings can make a difference. That courage, hope, and honesty, they can matter more than power or size." The chamber fell silent. The council had never heard such words, and yet they carried weight. The seal seemed to respond to him again, a faint shimmer moving through the floor lines, like an approving nod. Another delegate, this one taller and made of light, spoke next. "You carry the seal's attention, human. It does not respond to us. It does not choose anyone else. Why do you think it has chosen you?" Elias hesitated. He had no clear answer. He only knew that humans were emotional, that they felt things deeply and expressed them openly. That raw honesty, something that other species often lacked, might be what the seal had sensed. The council murmured among themselves. Some were skeptical, some fearful. Many had dismissed humanity for centuries, calling them unpredictable, weak, and emotional. Now, one human had awakened an ancient force that no alien could. It was a revelation that shifted the balance of their thinking. Humans could no longer be ignored. Elias felt a sense of calm settle over him. The seal had chosen him, yes, but it had not told him what to do. It offered guidance, not commands. The power of the seal was not for destruction or control. It was for wisdom, for understanding, for protection. Humans had a role, and now he understood that he had been selected to be their voice, their bridge to this ancient force. The chamber shifted as the council discussed quietly among themselves. Some members argued that humans should be given a permanent seat at the table. Others worried that awakening the seal could bring unforeseen consequences. But the consensus slowly formed: humans had been tested and they had passed. Elias's courage, his honesty, and his unfiltered emotion had proven their worth. "You are the chosen," the silver-eyed alien said finally. "Not because of your strength, not because of your technology, but because of your heart. The seal responds to what you carry within. You will guide it, and through it, humanity may take its place among the stars." Elias felt a shiver run through him. He was just one human, yet he now carried a responsibility older than the council itself. He rose to his feet slowly. The chamber seemed larger now, as if the seal had expanded the space to include the weight of history itself. He looked at the council, at beings who had once doubted him and his kind. Their eyes were wide, filled with something approaching respect, but also fear. They were beginning to understand that humans could change the galaxy in ways they could not predict. Elias's hands trembled slightly as he reached toward the faintly glowing floor. He could sense the seal beneath him, waiting for recognition, waiting to see if he would rise to the responsibility. I will do what I can, he said softly, his human voice steady despite the trembling. I will listen. I will learn. And I will carry your wisdom to the others. The council was silent. The seal pulsed once, warmly acknowledging his words. For the first time, humans were no longer just observers in the galaxy. They had a voice, a presence, a connection to a force older than any council or alliance. Elias had awakened that force and in doing so, had awakened hope for his people. The council members who had doubted humanity began to nod slowly. Respect was forming, a recognition that humans could no longer be ignored. The chamber fell quiet once more, but this silence was different from before. It was a silence of understanding, of acknowledgement. Elias felt a new strength within him, a quiet confidence that humans, though small, could carry great responsibility. The seal had chosen him, yes, but it had also chosen humanity to be seen, to be remembered, to be respected. And Elias knew that the galaxy had changed forever. Humans were no longer the underestimated newcomers. They were the chosen, carriers of heart and courage, and the seal had given them the chance to show the universe what they were truly capable of. The chamber, filled with ancient beings and glowing light, had witnessed something extraordinary. A human had awakened a power long forgotten, had shown courage where others hesitated, and had begun a story that would be told for centuries to come. Humanity's place among the stars was no longer a question. It had been earned, and Elias was its first ambassador. The chamber was quiet, but it was no longer tense. The council had seen what they had never expected. A human had awakened the ancient seal. Elias stood in the center, exhausted, but his heart still raced with the energy that lingered in the room. The seal beneath the floor pulsed faintly like a heartbeat, a gentle reminder that it was still watching, still alive, still waiting. The council members shifted in their seats, speaking softly among themselves. Some were surprised, some amazed, and some still uneasy. They had debated humanity's place in the galaxy for centuries, often dismissing humans as fragile, emotional, or unpredictable. Now the reality was clear. Humans had a power no one else could replicate, a power born not of size or strength, but of heart, courage, and pure emotion. Elias looked around at the ancient beings who now regarded him differently. The taller aliens, the energy beings, the crystal-like delegates, all had expressions of cautious respect. For the first time, humans were not outsiders, not observers, not weak. They were equal, and their potential had been recognized. A calm voice spoke from the head of the council. Human, you have awakened the seal. You have shown us that your species carries strength that we have underestimated for too long. For that, we offer humanity a place not as guests, but as equals. Elias's heart skipped a beat. A place at the council? It was more than he had ever dreamed. Humanity had been struggling to find its place among the stars, and now, the path was opening. The other humans in the chamber gasped softly, tears forming in some eyes. They had been overlooked for centuries, dismissed as weak or insignificant. Now, one of their own had changed everything. Elias felt pride, not for himself alone, but for every human who had ever struggled to be seen, who had ever fought to survive, who had ever dreamed of being recognized among the stars. The seal pulsed once more beneath the floor, a soft glow that spread through the chamber. Its presence was comforting, like a warm hand on the shoulder, guiding, acknowledging, and blessing this new chapter. Elias knew that this was only the beginning. The seal had chosen him to open the door, but humanity itself would decide what to do next. One of the elder council members leaned forward, its voice gentle but firm. Human, you have been the bridge between the seal and the council. Will you guide your people with wisdom? Will you help them understand their place in the galaxy? Elias nodded, swallowing hard. Yes, I will do my best. We will learn. We will grow. And we will honor this chance the seal has given us. The chamber erupted in soft murmurs. Many of the delegates began to nod in agreement. Respect for humanity was growing with each passing moment. They had witnessed courage, honesty, and emotion, qualities they could not manufacture, qualities humans carried naturally. That was something the council could not ignore. Outside the chamber, the light of the seal spread faintly across the city above, a reminder that something ancient and wise had returned. Humans would no longer be underestimated. They had been chosen, recognized, and given a chance to prove themselves. Elias felt a sense of responsibility settle over him. He was small and young, yes, but he carried the hopes of his entire species. And now, those hopes were acknowledged by the galaxy itself. He looked around at the other humans, some trembling, some smiling. Their eyes shone with wonder and newfound confidence. This is just the start, Elias said quietly, mostly to himself. We have been given a chance to be seen. Now we must rise to it. The council prepared to close the session, but it was clear that nothing would be the same. Humanity had entered a new era. One human's courage and raw emotion had awakened the seal, and through it the galaxy had seen the potential of an entire species. From now on, humans would have a voice at the council, a say in decisions that shaped the stars, and a role that no one could ignore. As the chamber emptied, Elias remained for a moment, feeling the seal's quiet pulse beneath him. It was like a promise. Humanity's journey had only begun, but it was already recognized. The stars were vast, full of unknown wonders, but now humans would face them as equals, guided by heart, courage, and the wisdom of what had been awakened. He stepped forward out of the center of the chamber, and felt the eyes of the council follow him. They were no longer filled with doubt or dismissal. Instead, they held respect, curiosity, and a hint of hope. Humanity had been underestimated, yes, but that would not last. Elias knew the path ahead would not be easy. There would be challenges, conflicts, and trials. But humanity had a new strength now, the recognition that their emotions, their courage, and their hearts mattered. They were part of something greater, something ancient, something that even the oldest beings had forgotten. As he walked toward the exit, Elias felt the seal's presence one last time, warm and approving. The chamber fell silent once again, but this silence was not empty. It was filled with possibilities, with promise, and with the quiet knowledge that the galaxy would never see humans the same way again. The human who had screamed, the human who had awakened the ancient seal, had changed the course of history. And the dawn for humanity among the stars had begun. The chamber doors closed behind him, and the light faded slowly, leaving only a faint glow on the floor. Elias stepped into the wider galaxy, carrying the seal's acknowledgement, humanity's hope, and the promise that their story was only just beginning. The stars waited and humanity would rise.